Big Thursday night's edition of Sports Talk for you here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Welcome in, everybody. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornblut and Pat Daniel here at our studios in downtown Columbia. Chris Bergen joining us as well. He's on the road with the Coastal Carolina basketball team. They're at JMU tonight, James Madison, which is having a very fine year in basketball as they did in football. And he'll be joining us in just a second. Our phone number, 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. I hope you had a great day on this beautiful day in the Palmetto State. If you're heading home from work and you haven't had a chance to catch up on the sports scene, that is why we are here. For those of you who don't get a chance to sit by your radio or by your computer all day and play in the sports world, you've got 2 hours to play in the sports world now. If you're heading home, we suggest you keep your eye on the road and your ear on us. If you are home, then feel free to listen to us on the radio, listen to us on our stream, watch us on YouTube, whatever fits your fancy. Great show for you tonight at 6:35. Spartanburg High School football coach Mark Hodge is going to join us. He, of course, is well known for coaching high school football in our state, but he's also known for being the high school coach of Deebo Samuel, former Gamecock star, current star with the San Francisco 49ers. Coach Hodge was in Santa Clara on a Sunday evening to watch the 49ers beat the Lions to move to the Super Bowl. Going to share his experience with us from what he saw out in San Fran and talk more about Deebo and what has made Deebo one of the great players in the NFL today. We will go from that end of the NFL spectrum, the very top, to the very bottom. As today, the Panthers introduced formally their new GM, Dan Morgan, their new head coach, Dave Canales. We'll hear from Dave Canales tonight, let you hear what he sounds like as he talks about taking over the job with the Panthers. Mike Morgan on the move at 7:05. We'll get his thoughts on a lot of different things, including the new SEC baseball tournament format. So the SEC, when it expands to 16 teams in baseball come next spring, their baseball format will include, this is for the tournament, they'll still play 30 regular season games, no divisions. So you'll be 1 through 16 in the standings. And then everybody will go to the tournament in Hoover. The top 4 teams will get double byes, and the lower seeded teams will play single elimination games the first couple of days, and then single elimination will continue all the way through. So they are eliminating double elimination. So there'll be a single elimination affair all the way through to a championship game on Sunday. Get Mike's thoughts on that. And, of course, some recruiting coming your way as well. USC women's basketball in action tonight. The top-ranked undefeated USC women playing tonight at Auburn. Well, let's welcome in Chris Bergen, who was courtside at James Madison University. I got to tell you what, whatever they're doing athletically is working out very well for them. Their football team was outstanding. Their basketball team was outstanding, and they've had good baseball over the years. So have you picked up anything on James Madison while you've been there?
Well, as is the case in everything in college athletics, Phil, follow the money. James Madison's got a bunch of it and not afraid to spend it. We're sitting here inside the Atlantic Union Bank Center getting ready for the matchup tonight. Brand new facility. They built this about 4 seasons ago. It opened back in 2020. Not the best of times, obviously, to open up a brand new athletic complex, but this place seats about 8,500. They probably won't have that many in here tonight. They've got a whiteout plan for Coastal as the Chanticleers come into town. But you're right, James Madison on both the men's and women's basketball sides of the coin playing very, very well. We know the ire that they drew from the NCAA about complaining that they couldn't get into a bowl game until the NCAA needed them in the bowl game and allowed them to go during football season. But yeah, you've got to just marvel at what James Madison has done in a short period of time. And Bill, you look at what they've done facilities-wise up here, and it's in a beautiful area in Virginia, right in the middle of the Shenandoah Valley. But what they've done with facilities-wise, it almost looks like the Sun Belts. This is a program, football-wise, it was FCS just a couple of years ago, but it almost feels like, to me, the Sun Belt is a stepping stone for them, a holding place until a bigger conference comes looking for them. And I think James Madison probably, let's say, if the ACC does start losing teams elsewhere, I would think the Atlantic Coast Conference would take a long look at a program like James Madison to bring them in.
And makes sense to me. Makes plenty of sense. That program has come, they're sort of like Liberty. Liberty's another program that has come a long, long way. I remember watching Liberty baseball in the Big South. They almost derailed Coastal Carolina's run to a national championship in the Big South tournament that year at Lexington. Jim Toman was the coach at Liberty at the time. But, you're talking about a program now at Liberty, for example, and I was talking to then athletics director Jeff Barber, and he pointed out to me, and it's still, I'm sure, the same today and maybe even greater, that with their online university, you're talking about thousands of additional students paying thousands of dollars in tuition money. In other words, they had a major flow of money coming into that school, and a good portion of that went over to athletics. So they weren't hurting for any dollars, and this is going back, maybe 10 years or so ago, about 10 years. So even back then, a school like that was flowing in dollars, and you can see with what they've done with their athletic program at Liberty, the hiring of Jamie Chadwell, the kind of season they had this year. Of course, I think they were brought down to earth by Oregon when they realized, that's a big step up for them from the competition they play week in and week out. But like James Madison and Liberty, those are two up-and-coming athletic programs, and you do wonder where they're going to be housed in the years to come as we see the reformation of college athletics ahead of us. It's going to be a lot of change. There's still going to be more movement of schools, and there's going to be a complete remake of the structure of college athletics at the highest level.
Well, you may even look at a conference like the Sun Belt, which to its credit has done a nice job sort of positioning itself for the undertaking that you're talking about, the Armageddon of the current setup at the Division I level. And maybe the Sun Belt just kind of rises up and becomes, pardon the pun, because that's one of their slogans, but rises in and sort of fills in right below wherever the Power 5, Power 4, wherever they land. And then right after that, maybe the Sun Belt is the next best conference. And maybe James Madison is happy enough in Coastal and Troy and all the teams that are in here now. Maybe they feel like that's the next best step for them once everything settles with the South Carolinas and the Texases and the Clemsons of the world.
All right, our phone number, 888-898-2525. We can take some phone calls here early tonight on the program. What about the matchup tonight that you've got? Coastal Carolina's coming off a nice win at home. I think, am I correct in just saying about Coastal, the one thing this team is lacking is consistency? There are some games when they can go out and really, within their league, play with some good teams and be right there. Then there are other games where it appears they just don't show up.
Well, here's the stats that'll back that up for you, Phil. They have not won back-to-back ball games since January of last year. So they have been searching for consistency and probably played one of the best 20 minutes that they have played all season long this past Saturday. Actually trailed Georgia State by 10 at halftime, grew to 13 in the second half before they came back and won that ball game in overtime. And now you face a team like James Madison, and you better be consistent on both ends of the floor because they are the top-scoring team in the Sun Belt, averaging 85 thereabout points a ball game. Plus, they are the second best defensive team in the Sun Belt, allowing around 65 or so a ball game. Their scoring margin is outstanding. They make it really difficult on you defensively because they are second in the conference in steals. And this is a program, in the short period of time they've been in the Sun Belt, they have made life miserable for everybody else. They were the preseason favorites to win it, and that was before they went to Michigan State and upset the Spartans at home to open the season. They did what South Carolina did a couple of nights ago. They went in and won a top 5 road matchup as an unranked team. I think the Gamecocks and the Dukes are the only two, if I'm not mistaken, that have done that this season. And so that gave you an idea and started a 13 or 14 game winning streak to open the season. They've struggled a little bit per se in conference, but they are a very, very good team, and Coastal will have to play by far its best game of the year tonight to have a chance late in this one.
All right, let me pass on a couple of other things, and we'll get to your phone calls. And the phone number is 888-898-2525. Go ahead and grab a line. Clemson is ranked 12th, Gamecocks 15th, Coastal Carolina 19th. In the NCBWA, that's the Baseball Writers Association, preseason top 30. I was over at USC today because they had a media availability for players, and those guys are Those guys are very confident. They're very excited about the upcoming season. They know they're going to hit. They know they're going to score runs. How will the pitching be? Well, they know they've got arms back from last year, some very identifiable arms, but they're going to need some new guys to step up and produce for them. So if they get better than average pitching, if they get very good pitching, then look out, because with Messina and Petrie and Cassis and others returning to that lineup, they're going to hit. They're going to score runs. So they're anxious to get started. Their goal, of course, is to host a super regional. They did the super regional thing on the road last year. They came up short at Florida, a team they beat in the regular season. They swept. Then they go to Gainesville, and they ran into two of the best arms in college baseball. And so they realize hosting a super regional is a key for being able to take that next step. Meantime, the baseball world is mourning the passing of Mike Martin, longtime Hall of Fame baseball coach at Florida State. And he was not only a great baseball coach, but he was quite the character. He was fun to watch. I mean, he and Bill Wilhelm, guys like that, incredible for the game of college baseball back in the day. And Mike Martin won a lot of baseball games, won a lot of ACC championships, but he never won the College World Series. Hard to believe, with all the great players and all the super teams that he had, that he could not win it all there at Florida State. But he's been gone as far as coaching for a number of years, so he's already been missed on the field, but now he'll be missed by that Florida State family, Chris.
Phil, you know, you're a major legend in the world of sports, and certainly in baseball in particular, when they refer to you not by your name, but by your number. Every tribute we have seen is rest in peace, 11. You know, we're going to miss you, 11. It's not, Coach, we're going to miss you type deal. And that's the kind of impact Mike Martin had. And I think from a baseball perspective, there's no more astonishing stat than the fact that with all those teams he had at Florida State, and just tremendous teams, but he went to 17, I think, College World Series and never won one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost hard to do. I mean, it really is. It's almost remarkable that he had that kind of consistent success, but was never able to find a way to get over the hump and win one. We were talking at the pregame meal earlier today about basketball teams who failed to win a national championship, and it just stuns you. I still go back to the 83 NCAA championship won by NC State. They weren't anywhere close to the best team at the Final Four. It was the University of Houston that was, but they never were able to get over the hump. It's fascinating. Go back, you can find examples of that all across the board, but I think Florida State baseball is the one that's always going to leave us scratching our heads that they have not been able to win a national championship, especially under Mike Martin. That's such a phenomenal coach and had such a great impact on the game.
Yes, no question about it. Here's a little bit more about that SEC baseball tournament format beginning in May of 2025. So now this year, they'll go with the same format they've had in the past. So the top 12 teams in the final 14-team regular season standings will advance to the single double elimination tournament over 6 days. Beginning in May of 2025, it'll still be a 6-day tournament with 4 games each on Tuesday and Wednesday, 2 games each on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and a championship game on Sunday. Seeds 9 through 16, determined by the final regular season standings, they will play on Tuesday, and then seeds 5 through 8 receive a bye to Wednesday, and seeds 1 through 4 receive a bye on Thursday or Friday. So they get the double bye. The bottom line here is you want to be in the top 4, because if you're in the top 4, you can win the championship by winning 3 games. If you're 9 through 16, you got to win 6 games to win the championship. So you want to be as good as you can be in the regular season to survive that format. But it is single elimination. And to be honest with you, I kind of like that, I think, at first glance here, Chris. I kind of like the single elimination. It puts the pressure on the teams all in for every game. You wonder how the coaches will approach this now from a pitching standpoint. You know, for the teams moving on to the NCAA regional, and 10 or 11 of them, or now, well, maybe more now, 14 or 15 of them, or 13 or 14, will probably be moving on to the regional. You wonder how the the coaches will handle their pitching going through this particular format?
I'm more surprised that the coaches agreed to this format at all, Phil. You know how traditional and rich they are, and they just can't stand anything that changes away from the norm. Don't play 7 innings. That's not real baseball. We have to play 9. We can't play 2 7-inning games for a doubleheader. We got to play 2 9s. I don't care if you're there 15 hours of the day. You got to do that. That's baseball. And I'm just stunned that they agreed to go away from the double elimination format, which is the same that you have in the NCAA tournament, to go to the single eliminate. It was the only way, though, if the SEC was going to invite every single team in the new look conference, that's the only way you could do this. I mean, you clearly couldn't play double elimination with 16 teams. You'd be there for a month.
That's right.
I mean, it's just, there was no way to do it otherwise. But I'm more stunned that they would agree to this and not trim back the field. And maybe this was their opportunity to go back and just invite 8 teams. Top 8 go, you play double elimination, you win out. But now, which is the more strange, ridiculous, interesting, however you want to phrase it, format? The ACC's pool play idea, which I think is starting to catch hold with a lot of people, or now the SEC going single elimination with 16 teams.
Yeah. The more the ACC pool play format has grown on me over the years. When they first introduced it, I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Agree.
But those who like it, and I think more have come to grips with it, it allows a team to set up their pitching. You know exactly how many games you're going to play. You know exactly who you're going to play. And, the silly part of it is like you lose a game on like a Tuesday and you're eliminated from championship play, but you got to come back and play on a Thursday or Friday, depending on what the schedule looks like. Now, that does help you. If you were a bubble team for the NCAA tournament, it does help you pick up some extra wins to impress the committee. And that's one thing here about this format. I'm sure the coaches are like, let's let everybody play. Somebody might need a win or two to get into the NCAA tournament, and they can pick that up here at the SEC tournament. I'm sure that's what they're thinking. By leaving people at home, that would put a negative connotation on them from the committee standpoint, and they might get overlooked. And the SEC is all about packing the NCAA tournament with their teams. You know that.
No, without a doubt. And, I mean, you were going to be somebody like a Texas, an Oklahoma, a South Carolina, a Florida, an LSU perhaps. I mean, somebody of that magnitude, that kind of program, is going to be left at home if you only do the top 8. I mean, it's just math's not going to work out where all those tradition-rich programs are going to be able to finish in the top 8. So, yeah, I think you're probably right. You don't want to put some teams inadvertently on the bubble unless you absolutely have to. So I can see the reasoning behind that. I'm just really surprised, again, as much as these coaches love to stick to routine, that they would go away from double elimination.
And, guys, while we're on the topic of baseball, slightly different but similar topic, the NCAA today announced sanctions against former Alabama baseball coach Brad Bohannon, and they are significant. 15-year show cause was what was handed down to him for violating the association's wagering and ethical conduct rules by knowingly providing insider information to an individual he knew to be engaged in betting on an Alabama baseball game. Remember that Bohannon was fired by Alabama back in the spring. The NCAA then said that Bohannon worsened his problems by failing to participate in the NCAA investigation. As part of this show cause order, any employing school that does decide to hire him, they have to restrict Bohannon from any athletically related position. If Bohannon becomes employed during the show cause period, he will be suspended for 100% of the baseball regular season for the first 5 seasons of his employment. He also received 3 years probation and a $5,000 fine. And then in a footnote, as part of the NCAA's Committee on Infractions, they noted, quote, observed that his conduct was abhorrent and egregious, and they considered a lifetime ban. Moving forward, the Committee on Infractions will consider lifetime bans for similar conduct.
Also part of this story, his stooge, the guy that was placing the bets for him, must be a moron, because they've got recordings of him, or they've got a paper trail, they've got text messages of this guy trying to place huge bets with a sports book, and they declined his bets because they thought something was fishy. And he told them, I guess in messages, I've got inside information. And he identified where his inside information came from. He said the coach has told me the starting pitcher is out. I want to put this money, da-da-da-da. Yeah, he flat out told them. And then, the sports book's like, whoa, they turned him in, which a lot of people say when it comes to gambling, and people say it's a dangerous thing. But people point out these sports books, they police themselves.
Right.
They're the ones that actually get things started from an investigation standpoint. They smell something fishy, they call the FBI and get people on it in a hurry. So that's a good thing. They're the ones that blew the whistle on this whole deal. But what a dummy.
Well, Phil, they have to, because if there's any inkling that the game is not on the up and up, gamblers go away. They won't bet on it. If the fix is already in, if people know they're not going to bet in Las Vegas, and sports gambling across the country cannot afford to have that happen. There's way too much money. Stuff. I hope he's not too old to learn another trade, because he's never going to coach baseball again in college.
A quick correction to what I said. I mistakenly said Bohannon was given 3 years probation and a $5,000 fine. That's actually the Alabama baseball program. So Alabama received 3 years probation and a $5,000 fine stemming from this. And Chris, to your point, you got to think, if there's one sport, whether collegiately or professionally, that players, coaches, and so forth would know not to bet against, it would be baseball. We all know about Pete Rose and the ongoing saga about whether he should be or should not be allowed into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And of course, we're all familiar, especially here in South Carolina, because of the birthplace of Shoeless Joe Jackson, of the 1919 Chicago Black Sox scandal. So you would think if there's one sport where this would not be happening, at least in my opinion, it would be baseball.
All right.
If you've got the Headside Info, are you going to
Money's
get rid
money,
of it, or
right?
are you going to use it? Exactly.
All right, let's hit the phones real quick before the bottom of the hour, and we'll lose Chris to basketball at that point. And it's Bobby in Casey. Hey, Bobby, great to have you with us. How are you?
Hello, Phil, Chris, and Pat. Congratulations to your Packers today, Phil, and help me out. I don't have the internet. Was it Jeff Hafley, Boston College, or is it Heatley, the head coach that left for the Packers?
Yes, it's Hafley, isn't it? Who was the head coach at Boston
that's
College?
Who's in Phil Steele's magazine. That's who's in Phil Steele's magazine, but I don't know if they canned him and hired Heatley. So
No, they
Hafley.
for the DC they hired Jeff Hafley from Boston College.
Okay, and here's the thing: the Bower just fought his offensive coordinator, Kyle Grubbs, I think his name was.
Right.
He's actually wanting to leave Alabama now and go back to the Seattle Seahawks as their offensive coordinator.
Really?
Yep. I've sent it to you. Whoever's running the show on your Twitter site can read about it.
Okay, we'll check that out.
And here's a hip hooray. Chris Shula might be leaving the Rams to replace Vic Fangio. That's Don Shula's grandson, to his older son, David, who runs the steakhouse chain, to become Miami's new defensive coordinator. Chris Shula.
Chris Schuler.
He's the outside Ed Roger pass rush coordinator with the LA Rams.
And he might be heading where?
Back to the Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins.
Because Fangio had a divorce. Fangio is now the defensive coordinator with the Eagles. Yeah. They had a mutual divorce, so he's gone. Chris Shula, where Don coached all those years, his grandson might be coming to be the defensive coordinator. Hooray. We get another Shula back at the coaching with the Dolphins.
Well, thank you. I thought you said he was going to go work at the steakhouse, but that's good.
No. His father, Dave, runs the chain. No, I'm sorry. His father, David, runs the chain. Mike Shula, who quarterbacked at Alabama and got fired as the head coach, he's a senior offensive whatever with the Bills.
All right, sir. Thank you for all that. And, Chris, we bid you adieu. Have a good call tonight.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Talk to you from Huntington, West Virginia tomorrow.
Nice travels. Okay, thank you. Back after this break on Sports Talk.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Some clouds do roll in, but no rain. We'll have a low of 37. Now, tomorrow, a blend of sun and clouds. Our warmest day of the week, 68 is the high. For the weekend, Saturday is gorgeous. Sunny skies, the high is 57. We stay 57 as a high on Sunday, but we do get cloudy as the day moves along and have a 20% chance of some showers. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather. Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the first of back-to-back atmospheric rivers is drenching California. Heavy rain and gusty winds began hitting the state's north on Wednesday before moving south along the coast and snarling the Thursday morning commute in Los Angeles. It has flooded roads, toppled trees, and caused traffic accidents, but also dumped welcome snow in the mountains. Forecasters say the storm will be followed by a more powerful one that will arrive late Saturday night and hang around into Monday. Women are far more likely than men to get autoimmune diseases, illnesses like lupus or rheumatoid arthritis that occur when the immune system mistakenly attacks their own bodies. That gender disparity has baffled scientists for decades, but new research may finally explain why. Females have 2 X chromosomes, and Stanford University researchers say how cells handle that extra X can be a red flag.
Are you willing to risk it all? The White House, the House, the Senate, total Democratic control. Because poll after poll shows that Donald Trump is the weakest candidate against Joe Biden. With President Trump's criminal trials and the liberal media's bias against him, we just can't risk 4 more years of Biden and Harris. The right choice, Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley crushes Biden by double digits, even in swing states Trump lost in 2020. Nikki Haley is a strong leader, a proven conservative fighter with real solutions to get our country back on track. Haley will unite Republicans and help them win up and down the ballot. Nikki Haley is our strongest candidate against Joe Biden. And with Nikki Haley, America can win again. Vote Nikki Haley.
AFC Action is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by AFC Action, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. AFCAction.com.
I sure like to brag about good local businesses. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning is a great local biz. Josh and his team stress customer service as their top priority. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning came out to my house. I had a toilet that wasn't working right, a garbage disposal that died. They came out right on time, told me everything they were going to do, and explained the price of each repair before even bringing in the tools. I knew exactly what I was getting and exactly what it would cost. Their prices are fair. Their team is courteous and professional. Plus, they did a great job fixing what needed fixing in my home. I am very careful about making any recommendations, and I'm thrilled and confident to suggest you call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning for any plumbing needs. If it's a repair or to replace something, if it's that tankless water heater that you've always wanted to give you that endless hot water and save you some money. They unclog drain and sewer lines and so much more. Online, you'll find them at franklinplumbing.sc.com, or just give Josh and those great folks a phone call, 799-2222. That's 799-2222, and tell them you heard about them from here at The Point.
Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 5 to 9 college savings plan, is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
Hey, it's Jay with the Cigar Militia. When I stop by a cigar store, I always look for my go-to cigars and stock up a few of those, but I also look for something I've never tried before. Well, at the Cigar Militia, we specialize in a lot of small boutique cigar manufacturers. Come in and try a Don Kiki by Karen Berger or a Makaji by Ty Williams. We are the Cigar Militia at 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard. Help us out, stock up, and review some of our boutique brands.
Well, today's weather makes me think of one thing and one thing only. Putting on the old Speedo and running along the beach.
Very nice. No.
I'm sure that's an image that a lot of people don't want to think about. But you can think about certain people running along the beach of South Carolina, and it's very appealing and very attractive. My point in all this is you need to go ahead and make your beach plans now for the spring, the summer. Get away from wherever you happen to live and get down to the beach. Jimmy Smith is the man to call. 843-237-4246. Paulie'sVacationRentals.com. James Smith Real Estate. Tell them what you're looking for and let them do the rest of the work. 843-237-4246. Your perfect beach getaway. Don't delay. Spring and summer is coming at you fast, like another football season right around the corner. 843-237-4246. Paulie'sVacationRentals.com. James Smith Real Estate. All right. Super Bowl's coming up week from Sunday. And we've got, of course, local flavor in the game, including the former Gamecock great Deebo Samuel, who is now one of the greats of the current game, National Football League. His coach back in the day at Chapman High School, Coach Mark Hodge, now calls Spartanburg High School home. But I know he fondly remembers those days at Chapman and those great days of coaching the touchdown machine, Deebo Samuel. Coach Hodge was in San Francisco/Santa Clara for the NFC Championship game over the weekend. He joins us now here on Sports Talk. And good evening, Coach. How are you?
I'm well. How are you tonight?
We're doing great. Thank you for being with. Have you got your legs back under you from the cross-country trip?
I have. Missing a day of work on Monday. I can't. I don't know what day it is right now. And I got tickled. I didn't expect the Speedo lead-in.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I should have warned you.
That's a Phil Kornblut special right there, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll tell you what. When I'm down at the coaches clinic with you guys in a couple of weeks, I'll give you an advanced display. How about that?
I will not put that on my calendar.
I don't blame you. But I saw the video that you posted. Were you on the sideline during the game?
Not during the game, pregame. I was able to go out pregame, and then I was actually able to go out postgame. So I was, right there with him postgame through some of the celebration. And then he even brought us into the locker room. So I got to experience that as well, too. So it was some really great moments for me to just kind of sit back and enjoy watching him be rewarded for his efforts and his work.
Tell us about your relationship with Deebo Samuel going back to when he was just a youngster, I guess growing up in Inman or around there to end up at Chapman High School. How long have you known him, and what exact role did you play in his development coming up through high school?
Yeah, so he originally grew up in inner city Spartanburg, and there was some rough moments in his life. And his dad got stable and remarried and moved up to Inman, and Deebo moved to Chapman. I think the year before I got there, I actually got there the spring of his sophomore year. So, really started getting to know him the summer going into his junior year. And, there's one of our funny stories is he was late to the first 7-on-7 I had, and I chewed him out pretty good and, told him he wasn't the best player I ever coached, and he was going to act like everybody else. And he handled it really well because, at the time, DJ Moore was the best player I'd coached. And so that's kind of how we started our first competition together. And I knew he was a really good player then. Like he was really, a great high school football player. But between his junior and senior year, he grew about 2 inches and added about 20 pounds, and his 40 time really dropped. And, mentioning DJ, his summer of his senior year, we were actually at a Spartanburg 7-on-7, and that's when Feaster and all those guys were at Spartanburg. And DJ was home, from training for the NFL. That's when he was with the Chicago Bears. And DJ came over to me and he said, Coach, he's better than some of the kids I actually guard right now today in the league. And so we knew during those 7-on-7s that he was legit and elite. And, the rest of the season, he just dominated. One game he scored 5 touchdowns, 5 different ways. And the thing is, he was so unselfish too. Like he just wanted to win. And he'd come off and say, if I do this or I do that, so-and-so's open or so-and-so can have success. But when it came crunch time, he was like, "Give it to me," you know. And it didn't matter if it was offense or defense, and just an elite competitor. And so that's really how our relationship started. But you know, we were there for him. You know, my family and my kids, and we held him to high standards and tried to provide. You know, pick him up. And times he didn't have internet, we would let him use mine in my office. Or and another kind of Deebo only story was the time I only had the two sons. We hadn't adopted our daughter yet, but in my top left desk drawer was where I kept my candy and stuff for those two when they happened to be over there. And Deebo became one of them. And so there were three children that went in the desk drawer. And it was Caleb, Josh, and Deebo. So and he just became a family member over the years.
I can understand why. And I remember either his junior or senior year at Chapman, he scored like 20 touchdowns. He was a touchdown machine. Yet I don't recall him being all that heavily recruited, and South Carolina ended up signing him. What do you recall? I know you and I talked back in those days when he was being recruited. What do you recall about his recruitment out of high school? And for those who did not pursue him, what did they say were the reasons why they didn't offer him and go after him?
First, the recruiting, how it happened was when I was at Carolina High School in Greenville. I took that job, and it was known as probably the worst football program in the state at the time. But there were three coaches that actually did due diligence and actually recruited the school. And Sean Elliott happened to be one of those when he was at App. And so we developed a relationship there. And so, and what's wild is I actually had two kids. And so get to Chapman, Sean was actually recruiting us, and we had a prior relationship, and I just kept on him like, this kid's got it. Like, I'm telling you, he's got it. And Sean kept on, and finally he got Spurrier Jr. to come watch our third round game against BHP, and Deebo just dominated the football game and made two just basically NFL type catches for touchdowns right in front of him, and they came back and offered him the following week. And so I tell my kids now, like, be patient. Like, you're going to be where you're supposed to be if you're doing the things you're supposed to do. And, so Deebo was, he was only offered basically Thanksgiving of his senior year. Mm-hmm. And he came out late. Like, Chapman had a really good season a few years earlier, but then they kind of went on a downward slide. And I think there was a reputation that they didn't have a bunch of good players. And in other places, like, Jeff Scott was real honest at Clemson. Like, he really liked him, but by the time he got him on his radar, they had already offered and pretty much, filled their spots. And, they did offer a preferred walk-on, but, Carolina came through with the full scholarship. And, so it in the end, it worked out real well for him. But I sometimes like to remind recruiters when they come in that, you're the guy that didn't offer Deebo, so I don't know exactly how much you do know about football. But, recruiting's so difficult now. I mean, just off subject, but it is. I mean, with stars and everything else, it's like it's almost like a lot of recruiters feel like they got to have a scapegoat. And well, we offered him because somebody started him or somebody else started him, and it's gotten difficult. But at the end for him, it worked out.
Yeah. Visiting with Coach Mark Hodge, a few more minutes. I don't know anything about football, like you guys do. Really, I don't. I know that shocks you, but I really don't. But I can watch a football game, and I can tell a good football player from a not so good football player or an average player. And having watched Deebo at South Carolina, and then coming up on the draft that year, I remember saying on the show, listen, if you want a receiver and you've got a first-round pick and you need a receiver, you better take Deebo Samuel. And, of course, he lasted until, I think, the second round, right? And so –
yeah, I think third pick, second round, I think it was.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, you people, you're stupid. You're not nearly as smart as what your pay grade says you are, because this guy can play. And so, and of course, we've seen it. What is it? The most amazing thing to me about Deebo, of course, his physical build helps him, but just his uncanny ability to break tackles. You just can't bring him down with your shoulder, right, or with your arms. It takes multiple players generally to get him down if he's got a full head of steam going.
Yeah, there's a lot of things about him that makes him unique. And, I tell him, I just texted him last week and I say, God made you different. Like that, he made you different than everybody else. And it starts with his intelligence. He's a highly intelligent kid and or young man now. And then he's hyper competitive, and the best players I've ever coached, they have to compete. Like you can try to take them off offense and give them a break and you look up and they're on defense. Like they have to compete if there's a competition going on. And then his body, he's so violently strong in every direction. It doesn't mean, whether it's a change of direction, vertical jump, or just transition to speed. And then you throw his stature on top of that, and he's just, there's only one like him. And, other people try to copy it and you can't, because he's just really the only body type like that with all those other intangibles.
He is something to watch, and he has a knack for getting to the end zone. Now, here's the big question. Did he invite you to come out to the Super Bowl?
We ain't got that far yet, so I don't know. That's tough for them, too. They get 2 free tickets, and then they have to pay for the rest of them. And, I always try to not push him and stay in the background, from his family and his friends that he's always been with. And his family's expanding now that, with his kids or his child and his wife. And, so you got that. So I would like to go, but I don't pressure him to go. And so we'll kind of see what happens there. But either way, I'll be pulling for him and praying for him and just super proud of him. And the dad part's the thing I'm most proud about, just watching him really, really work hard to be a really, really good dad. And you can tell that, Deebo Jr., little Deebo, recognizes that. And so that's probably the thing that I enjoyed the most being out there this weekend, is just watching him be a father.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for being with us. And, boy, I know that was quite the thrill to be there and see them do their thing. And we congratulate you on what you did in helping Deebo get to where he is today. And, of course, you've helped a lot of players along the road get to certain levels of football or certain levels of life. Look forward to seeing you at the clinic in a couple of weeks. And, again, thanks for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you guys. And, go 49ers, and God bless them.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Good talking to you.
Yes,
Coach
sir.
Mark Hodge from Spartanburg High School, doing a great job there. Of course, he was at Chapman, and that's where he coached Deebo Samuel. We appreciate Coach for being with us tonight here on Sports Talk. Great guy, and always enjoy talking to him. All right, going to run to the break, and then we'll be back with more Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Our phone number, 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery, lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. Speaking of football, Furman is going to start spring practice 1 week from today. First practice scheduled for 4 o'clock. Paladin Stadium, open to the public. That's the first of 15 practices. You can go watch some football again if you're hankering for some football action. Be back in a moment.
When trouble comes like the accidents do, we all get sick and the bills pile too. There's only one number that can help see you through. And if you're healthy, here's what you should do. Call 605-7905. That's the number that you need to know. 605-7905. $0 deductible. What's a deductible, you say? That's the price you have to pay before the insurance will say we'll help you. They keep the number out of reach because they know that you won't reach that number because they know you're healthy. 605-7905. $0 deductible. 605-7905. 727 is the area code.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@ JimCorbettAttorney.com. That's CORBETT. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit. 803-765-2968 or Jim@JimCorbettAttorney.com.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Hi, this is Billy Downer from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Are you looking for a safe place to shoot your rifle or handgun? Did you know that the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources operates 4 manned ranges across the state in Pickens County, Spartanburg County, Richland County, and Charleston County? For more information on our public ranges, visit dnr.sc.gov/shooting.
Thanks again to Coach Mark Hodge for being with us tonight. Great stuff from him. Hadn't really thought about who I like in the game. I think I'm going to go. I keep in my mind playing down Brock Purdy. Just can't believe he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Then again, we've had some Super Bowl winning quarterbacks that weren't great quarterbacks in their own right. They were just on great teams that had other really great parts and great defenses. And he might be a great quarterback one day. I think if you pressure him, you can control him. But then again, you have to be a little bit concerned about his ability to run, as he showed the other day. The Chiefs, well, I tell you what, you got to be impressed with what they did. To go to 2 places to win where they won is pretty doggone impressive. And Mahomes, Kelsey, they just always deal up some kind of magic. And I don't know. I think I got to roll with the Chiefs here. The more veteran team, probably the better quarterback. The 2 tight ends, they kind of are a wash, right? I mean, Kittle is outstanding with the 49ers. Of course, Kelsey with the Chiefs. Running game, give a little bit of an edge to. I got to give more an edge to San Fran. Yeah. Deebo might be the X factor in this thing.
Is he going to be 100% healthy? This week off, you would think, would certainly help.
2 weeks to get ready. Yeah. I mean, he played the entire way the other day, I believe. So maybe that's not a problem. So still go with Kansas City here, I think.
I think so, too. And just the path that the Chiefs did, we were kind of writing them off. I mean, there were midway through the season, there were folks out there legitimately wondering if the Chiefs would make the playoffs or not. They fought their way in. And they ended up the 5th seed, but the path they had, some experts out there are calling it, quote, the most difficult path in NFL history. But a little footnote underneath that, remember, we're only a couple of years into now having the super wild card weekend. So they're having to play more games than before. But they beat number 6 Miami at home, who was a very good 6th seed, the Dolphins. Number 3 on the road at Buffalo, and number 1 on the road again against Baltimore, who looked like an absolute Super Bowl caliber winning team. And I'm with you. I don't know if there's ever been a Mr. Irrelevant quarterback to win the Super Bowl, but 2 Mr. Irrelevants in the last 15 years or so that I can think of that did win were Marquez Colston with the Saints, who won that year with Drew Brees, and then help me out, kicker for the Gamecocks, who then won it with the Buccaneers. Yeah, Ryan Suckup won it as well.
A great memory.
Yeah, so that's 2 different Mr. Irrelevants that I can think of, but I'm not sure there's ever been a quarterback. So to see Brock Purdy do that would be a pretty cool story. And as a Panthers fan, I'm also a big Christian McCaffrey fan. I'd like to see him win. I feel like Shanahan at this point out there has kind of almost started to get the reputation of not being able to win the big game. So remember, they lost the Super Bowl a couple of years ago to this very similar, almost same Chiefs team.
Yeah.
When I believe the Chiefs had like they scored 21 unanswered in the 4th or something like that to come back and win that game. And so to see that slip away for Kyle Shanahan, it'd be nice also to see him kind of get over that hump. But I'm with you. I am not betting against Andy Reid and the Chiefs. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. he has shown that tandem together, and Kelsey have shown time and time again the ability to win no matter the odds against them or whatever. And this year also, they have a great defensive team. I wouldn't say they're not quite like the 2015 Broncos that beat, again, my Panthers, unfortunately, in the Super Bowl. That was Peyton Manning was a shell of his former self. That was a defensive-led team that won that championship by them. The Chiefs are not that level. They're still a very, very good offense. But this is it's the best defense, I think, that Andy Reid has had in his time in Kansas City, and that Patrick Mahomes has had, certainly. But I would give the edge there. I'm with you. I'm going with the Chiefs, but I think it'll be pretty close.
Sorry about hacking during your
No, you're good.
During your comments there. At the very, very tail end of a 2-week head cold ordeal, but almost over. Just a little post-nasal drip to add to your delight tonight. So a couple of other things to mention as we approach top of the hour. Mike Morgan after the top of the hour, and then we'll hear from the new coach of the Panthers in the second part of the hour. We'll have recruiting for you as well. A couple of other notes to pass along. Let's update our poll question of the week. Excuse me. Got a little scratch going there. Clemson opens the 24th season with a marquee national game, and I apologize, though I did correct it. Well, I couldn't correct it because somebody pointed out to me and I didn't see it until it was past the amount of time that I could edit the question. I misspelled marquee. I spelled it Marquise, which is a way to spell marquee, but not the way to spell marquee, the way I meant to spell marquee. But anyway, long story short, Clemson opens the 24th season against Georgia in Atlanta. FanDuel has the Bulldogs favored by 12.5.
Wow.
With an under of 48.5. Based on what you know now, which play would you make? We've had 672 votes. 62.5% say take Georgia. 16.7% say take Clemson. 14.1% take the under. 6.7% say take the over. Clemson's got some work to do to rebuild their reputation, and a win over Georgia would certainly go a long way towards doing that. I saw one of those way too early top 25 things come out. I think it was Stuart Mandel of The Athletic. He had Clemson way down like at number 19. And one of the reasons he cited was their lack of involvement in the portal, John. The fact that they didn't go out, haven't gone out and brought in any players out of the portal, John, that might help them in certain areas. I tell you, man, these national writers, these analysts, these pundits, they hold that against Dabo. They hold it against Swinney, the fact that he refuses to successfully recruit. I mean, they might, again, drop some lines in the water, but whatever they're doing in recruiting the portal isn't working because obviously they haven't landed anybody that they seriously tried to get from the portal. And I think secretly, Swinney's back there in his back room, very satisfied with what he's got.
I think we saw that happen in real time a bit this season. And what I mean is you have players transferring out, but you're replacing them with new players coming in that are freshmen. You're not replacing them with people the same age, potentially upperclassmen. And I would make the argument that I don't care what star they were, a 2 or 3 star senior or super senior or 6th-year player is going to be leaps and bounds better than a 5-star freshman right out of the gate, just because of the conditioning of the weight program, of being in the system long enough. And so as good as freshmen might be, like this past year for the Tigers, as good as those incoming freshmen were, I don't think we saw their actual assets until later in the season when Clemson put together that winning streak. Mm-hmm. So early on in the year, you were having a lopsided battle, and that might be in fruition happen again against Georgia, because Georgia's playing with all upperclassmen guys. Clemson's going to have to play some freshmen right out of the gate.
No question about it. And Georgia has no trouble going into the portal, John, and pulling players out and using them. Neither has Alabama, Ohio State, and others. Okay, top of the hour break. We shall return.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. California is getting drenched. Correspondent Rita Foley reports.
The fierce weather is a significant threat to the safety of Californians, according to a state emergency services official. Back-to-back storms, fierce storms, powerful rain and gusty winds started hitting the San Francisco Bay Area last night. The Los Angeles and San Diego areas are getting heavy rain today. The Central California coast could see waves up to 18 feet high today and tomorrow. And forecasters predict an even more powerful storm on Sunday. California's got personnel and equipment now in areas most at risk from the weather. I'm Rita Foley.
An explosion has struck a vessel in the Red Sea as attacks by Yemen's Houthi rebels continue. Correspondent Karen Chamas reports.
Houthi rebels have fired 2 ballistic missiles at a Liberian-flagged container ship in the Red Sea, according to a U.S. defense official. The attack is the largest so far by the rebels, as America launches airstrikes targeting them. The U.S. defense official identified the targeted container ship as the Koi. Since November, the rebels have repeatedly targeted ships in the Red Sea over Israel's offensive in Gaza against Hamas. British military officials said the attack happened west of the Yemeni port city of Hodeidah and that both the crew and vessel were safe. I'm Karen Chamas.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says it's time to more significantly disable Iran-backed militias that have struck at U.S. forces and ships in the Middle East. And he says the U.S. is poised to take significant action in response to the deaths of 3 U.S. service members in Jordan on Sunday. A good day on Wall Street as the Dow is up by 369 points. The Nasdaq rose 197. The S&P 500 index advanced 60. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Terrorist attacks against Israel, escalating threats of a third world war, natural disasters, and civil unrest are causing people to wonder, are we living in the end times?
In his new book, Are We Living in the End Times?, trusted pastor and best-selling author Dr. Robert Jeffress provides solid biblical answers to 7 key questions, including, what role does Israel play in the end times? What 5 headlines will signal we are in the end times? And how can you prepare for the end times? Are We Living in the End Times by Dr. Robert Jeffress is available right now at ptv.org and wherever fine books are sold.
Jesus said, no one knows the hour or day of his return, which is why we should be ready at all times. Jesus is coming back to earth one day. Are you ready? Get your copy of my new book, Are We Living in the End Times? By going to ptv.org or wherever fine books are sold.
Flacco, the 13-year-old Eurasian eagle owl, is celebrating a year of living on his own in New York City outside of zoo captivity. We hear more from correspondent Julie Walker reporting from New York.
A year ago, Flacco's Central Park Zoo enclosure was vandalized, letting him fly the coop. And like so many New Yorkers, he's made a way for himself in the big city. Birder Jackie Emery has been keeping an eye on Flacco.
And he has not only survived, he is thriving.
Even bumping into branches. Now he's navigating skyscrapers and catching rats for dinner. David Lay has been documenting Flacco's life on X.
People don't expect to see owls in the city.
At first, the zoo tried to lure Flacco back, but then accepted his independence. Police have no updates on who freed the owl. Julie Walker, New York.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Some clouds do roll in, but no rain. We'll have a low of 37. Now, tomorrow, a blend of sun and clouds. Our warmest day of the week. 68 is the high. For the weekend, Saturday's gorgeous. Sunny skies. The high is 57. We stay 57 as a high on Sunday, but we do get cloudy as the day moves along and have a 20% chance of some showers. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
As a kid, you dreamed of being a firefighter one day. Now, the opportunity is yours.
Answer the sound of sirens. Live your dream. Become a part of a team, a family.
Visit scvolunteerfire.org to find out more.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-8888.
888-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Sports Talk Media Network. And for those of you just joining us over the airwaves, welcome. Missed a great first hour, including an interview with Mark Hodge, head football coach at Spartan High, formerly of Chapman, where he coached Deebo Samuel. He was out in San Fran for the game Sunday. Had a lot of great things to say about that, about Deebo. If you missed that, we'll have it up in podcast for you on our podcast sites. You can catch it there. And what else did we do in the first hour? A lot of news, a lot of witty repartee, as you expect here on Sports Talk. Chris Bergen is calling a game tonight. Coastal Carolina, James Madison. South Carolina women are going to play Auburn tonight at Auburn, apparently without Chloe Kitts, because the women's X account sent out a get well soon post to Chloe Kitts, and trying not to say tweet, trying not to say Twitter because it's X and post. So they said sending get well wishes to Chloe Kitts, feel better soon. So I'm assuming that means she's out tonight for the Gamecocks. Don't see anything here where they are saying she's out, but that kind of is an indication that it's out. And by the way, it says here as well, student tickets for their game against UConn coming up officially sold out. So there you go with that.
And one other note we did not get to in the first hour, but we will touch on in the second hour is reports coming out of the Senior Bowl today in Mobile, Alabama, that two former Gamecocks had very, very productive days and apparently caught the eyes of a lot of scouts. And that's quarterback Spencer Rattler and wide receiver, Xavier Leggett. Sorry about that. Both of them apparently really had standout days. So that's good to hear. And we'll touch on that later as well.
Well, I'm going to tell the NFL people the same thing I told them when Samuel came through. Xavier Leggett is a player. And if you couldn't tell that by the way he played this year and what you're seeing down there now, if you don't take him, you need a receiver. You don't take him, you're not very smart. Okay? That's it for my NFL advice. Let's get advice from our man on the move, the one and the only Mike Morgan. Brought to you by State Farm agent Gary Patterson. For 35 years, Gary has been serving the real estate needs from Lugoff to Lexington, Columbia to Blythewood. Your auto, home, life insurance, and business insurance can all be handled by Gary. When he isn't refereeing ACC football games, he's spending countless hours helping South Carolinians with all their insurance needs and making a difference in the community. Go check out GaryPatterson.net today. Gary will go over the best plans for you and your family. That's GaryPatterson.net.
There are lots of places to buy your next ride, but there is no place like Love Chevy, where you never pay more than MSRP, ever. Come by and feel the difference of love. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Find new roads.
Mike Morgan joining us now. Morgan on the move, and he has been on the move around the world of college basketball, primarily in the SEC, calling games on the ESPN dysfunctional family of networks. Good evening, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
How you feeling?
Not great. I've been battling bronchitis for the last couple of weeks, but pressing through game after game, day after day.
Funny.
Hour by the hour.
You've never sounded better.
Yeah, I don't know about all that, but your producer there was talking about you couldn't notice last night. And all I can say to that is it's the magic of quality drugs.
Not cheap drugs either, brother. Not cheap. So
no,
what do you make of what's happening around the SEC in particular? South Carolina goes into Tennessee, 13.5-point dog, pulls off the win. It was no fluke win because they were right there the entire game and made shots down the stretch. And that defense they are really believing in their defense right now. What do Alabama won a tough one last night down there at Georgia. Georgia's had a couple of tough home losses to Tennessee and And Alabama, they were with those teams. They were right there until those other till the opponents pulled away. So what do you make of everything at this point with Alabama standing alone at the top? And, of course, Florida winning at Kentucky in overtime last night.
Well, let's start with the Carolina victory because I know we haven't spoken on air or off air since then. I think that is as impressive as Kentucky was. I actually think to go on the road in Knoxville and do that to Tennessee, and nobody could accuse Carolina of sneaking up on anybody. When you beat Kentucky like a drum on national TV the way they did the week before, you're on everybody's radar. Tennessee certainly was prepared. They knew they had a good team. They were ready to go. It was a big game, and they still lost. So I just think that's mammoth. Somebody mentioned, and I can't remember the dates, Phil, and you might have come across this, but the last time that Carolina beat two top 10 teams in the same week, it was early McGuire era.
1968.
There you go. There, I knew you'd be all over that.
Yep.
I mean, that is that's just phenomenal. I mean, and there's nothing flukish about it. So, look, I said on one of the games I was doing the other day, and I say this with full objectivity, Lamont Paris would be my SEC Coach of the Year right now. I'll tell you what Eric Musselman told me last night before the Arkansas game I did. We talked to Eric Musselman for about 30 minutes, and if you know Eric Musselman at all, he is not bashful of opinions or thoughts or anything. He also knows a hell of a lot about basketball. It's all he's ever done, going back to his dad, Bill Musselman, and since his days coaching the CBA as a 23-year-old. He said for him, the best player in the SEC this year would be Talon Cooper. Think about that. There's a lot of extremely good talent in the league this year and a plethora of elite point guards this year. And he said he would take Talon Cooper over all of them. And I've kind of joked on some other shows since December that I've had a man crush on Talon Cooper. I just love the way he plays.
Here we go with the man crush again.
Yep, and I think he's the biggest key to Carolina's success. Now he's not the only key, but he's a huge key. But what that win does, we are now past, and I understand there's a lot of games to be played, but for my money, we're at the point now where the analytics are more about seeding than they are getting in the tournament. You're looking at a tournament team. You're looking at a tournament team that was picked dead last in the SEC. I can't remember the last time that happened. So it's a phenomenal story. It's great to see a program that desperately needed a jolt of enthusiasm in it, get it with the right coach and the right compilation of players. So I would just start on that note that Carolina now, and look, they could easily lose in Athens on Saturday. They're not going to win out, right? They're going to lose some games. It's a stacked league. I think the winner of the SEC could easily be 13-5. You could have a 5-loss SEC champion because the league is that good and that deep, as I've been talking about it would be, going back to our conversations in November. But Carolina is going to be one of those teams, and they'll be certainly fighting for the conference championship, which would be a mammoth accomplishment. But I'd be shocked if they weren't going to the NCAA tournament as we sit here and talk in the first day of February. And I think that is such a great story in itself, not just locally. You have to understand, national people now are talking about South Carolina. That hasn't happened, obviously, since the Final Four. And even leading up to the Final Four, nobody thought that team was that good. They made a great run in the tournament, which happens from time to time. But this is the most hype for a Gamecock basketball team in the regular season in a long time.
Well, I'm visiting with Mike Morgan, and I know a lot of Gamecock fans don't want to hear this because of the way things ended with Frank Martin, though he did, of course, guide a team to the Final Four back in 2017. But they're going to have to hear it whether they like it or not. And that is the way the Gamecocks are playing right now, very similar to how that team played and won in 2017. Hanging their hats on defense and having enough offense to get them over the top. You go back to that 2017 team, and the Gamecocks averaged 73 points per game offensively, and they gave up they gave up 65 points per game. So defensively, they were 32nd in the country. Offensively, they were 179th. Much like this year's team, which really hangs its hat right now on defense, has some guys who can score like Cooper, and they do have some good outside shooters, as we well know, and they're winning without Michie Johnson scoring a whole lot, but they're giving up 60. They're giving up about 64. 64. They're 24th in the country in defense, giving up 64. So I think it's a very similar situation in terms of the style of play, and it works. It worked for him back in 2017. It's working for him now. I'm not saying it's going to get him to the Final Four, but it's going to give him a chance every game out.
Well, no question. And the other thing they do well is they handle the basketball well. And so if the defense and ball security, those two things typically travel well. That's not just a byproduct of being a good team on your home floor. And so those two things clearly traveled well in Knoxville. They traveled well in Fayetteville. They've traveled well in other spots along the way, and I think they'll continue to travel well. Now, I don't know where this offense off the top of my head ranks in the SEC, but my guess is somewhere in the middle of the pack. But as you mentioned, the defense, the last time I checked, that was number one, that points per game number. And if it's not number one, it's right up there. The team that they were battling, ironically enough, was Tennessee for much of the way in that category. And you go back to that 2017 team, and I can't remember off the top of my head on this one either. You would be more apt to remember where they finished in the league. Like they were never a threat to win the league. This team actually is a threat right now to win the league. So, it's apples to oranges, and you could be a really good team and not go to a Final Four. You could be a not so great team and get hot at the right time and go to a Final Four. But I think this team's regular season has a chance to be the best one since Eddie Fogler's SEC title team back in '97. Where the team went 15-1, unfortunately bowed out to Coppin State. So what they're doing is historic. No matter what happens in March, what they're doing in the regular season right now is historic.
Well, they finished in 2017. They were 12-6 in the league. They finished tied for third with Arkansas. Florida was 14-4, and Kentucky was 16-2. So,
okay,
yeah, they were. Yeah, they finished 26-11, but they were only, if I remember correctly, they were like a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament. So even still, the committee was, they didn't treat them like a top 3 or 4 seed. They were a 7th seed. So they didn't get a whole lot of respect there. They had to fight their way through a pretty tough bracket. I mean, of course, they played in Greenville and they beat Marquette. Then he played in Greenville. They beat Duke. Then you go up to New York and you beat Baylor on a Friday night, and then you beat Florida on a Sunday afternoon, and then you go to the Final Four. And you got a shot in the Final Four against Gonzaga. You got the ball, you got momentum on your side, and unfortunately for them, I thought Felder took a very poor shot in a fast break situation, took a deep shot, kind of missed, and Gonzaga got the rebound, went down and scored, and I think that kind of killed the Gamecocks' momentum, Pat.
That wasn't the only bad shot. I don't want to I don't want to sell anybody out, but I thought some of the decisions made handling the ball and taking those shots down the stretch, they should have been Sindarius Thornwell. That was he was your go-to guy, and other guys I thought played a little bit of hero ball, but that's neither here nor there. There's still a terrific run. But yeah, I'd forgotten what their conference record was, and this team certainly has a chance to be right up there when it's all said and done. To your other question, though, I mean, you watch Florida win at Rupp Arena. You watch Alabama doing what they're doing. Nobody wants to play Auburn on their home floor. This is a much deeper league than it was in 2017. It's a much better league than it was in 2017.
Only five SEC teams made the tournament that year.
There you go. I would bet very good money on February 1 that this is an 8-bid league with the possibility of Florida being 9 after they finally picked up their first quad 1 win. So I'm thinking this is going to be an 8 or 9 bid league. 8 would tie the record. 9 would be the new SEC record. So I kind of like going down this road with you. This is a good kind of comp 7 years ago, what it was then, what it is now. And there certainly are some similarities, but there's also some pretty stark differences as we've highlighted.
Mike, this is probably way too early to bring up, but with the talk now, you already mentioned you think that Coach Paris should be up for National Coach of the Year or Conference Coach of the Year. And getting poached by a Big Ten team. Well, he quickly won everybody over here, myself included. With the success the Gamecocks are having this season, other teams are going to come calling. It's just it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when at this point. What's it going to take for USC to keep him here in Columbia? And do you think Ray Tanner is going to open up the checkbook, or what do you see happening this offseason?
Ray would not let him go. Ray has never, Don Staley has flirted with other teams several times. And has got many raises in the process, but Ray's never let her go, so to speak. He's always managed to keep the coaches that are worth keeping, and that would still be the same here. You're an SEC program, you've got SEC dollars, and he happens to love Columbia. So, if that actually became a situation where he was coveted by other programs, I don't think it would be too big of a concern, to be honest with you. I had a really good long talk with him one-on-one before I did the Missouri game a week and a half ago, and actually shared some of that conversation. I think it went viral on X and other spots, just kind of his background and where he comes from and what makes him tick, because I don't think that story had been told by anybody before, quite frankly. Everybody just knew he was the guy that coached at Wisconsin under Bo Ryan, but they really didn't know anything about him. But if you know his track record and background, this is the kind of guy that was waiting for somebody to give him his big break. And I don't think he wants to just turn the other cheek on the guy in Ray Tanner and the program in South Carolina that did that. On top of that, he's beloved here. He's happy. He loves the area. And he knows that he's not just setting up this program for a blip on the radar successful breakout year. He wants to do this and have something that Gamecock basketball has lacked for the better part of 50 years, which is consistently good. Going to back-to-back tournaments or even back-to-back-to-back tournaments and doing something once you get there. I think he sees the potential there. He sees an 18,000-seat arena that gets extremely loud when your team is good, a fan base that is behind you, a recruiting base now with the portal. And this is key. With the portal, you no longer have to constantly be worried about, well, this kid, the very best players out of South Carolina, they all want to go to Duke. They all want to go to Tobacco Road. They all want to go everywhere but the state of South. Well, you know what? You can win without having those 5-star kids. So if a Zion Williamson wants to go to Duke, sayonara. Get the other kids, get the 3-star kids out of South Carolina, like a Talon Cooper, like a Murray Boyles, who did not get an offer from South Carolina or Clemson. Get those kids, and then go in the portal and get valuable guys like a Miles Studi, like a Josh Gray. Get those type of players in the portal, and I'm confident that Lamont Paris will be able to field a quality and competitive team year in, year out, not just a once in every 10-year type situation where you hit the perfect storm. So I'm pretty confident if everything turns out well and Lamont's the toast of the town and all of a sudden people come knocking, I'm pretty confident Ray Tanner will do what it takes to keep him around, and I'm pretty confident he's quite happy in Columbia.
Visiting with Mike Morgan for a couple of more minutes before we cut him loose. The SEC announced the format for the SEC baseball tournament beginning in May of 2025. They're going to have all 16 teams come to Hoover, and it's single elimination all the way through. And the top 4 teams get a double bye. I'm sure you familiarize yourself with all of this. You like this format for a baseball tournament? You like having all 16 teams in there? I think they probably did that so that teams would have a chance to win 1 or 2 more games to help their resume for the NCAA tournament. That's just me thinking. What'd you think about what they did here?
Well, this is what coaches have wanted all along. The coaches all want the extra opportunities to win more games. And quite honestly, it's a, how do I survive and not get fired? If you're having a bad year and only 2 teams get left out of the tournament, I think a lot of coaches feel like that was a bad look, and so it's easier to get fired. The way I look at it, because I don't have to worry about coaches getting fired because I'm not a coach, if you've been that bad all year long, you don't need to be in the SEC tournament necessarily. You know, I think some of these teams that I've covered in the SEC over the years, or any conference for that matter, that have been so beleaguered with injuries, they don't have any pitching, they really don't stand a fighting chance to make any type of run. Why send them to Hoover for a tournament? So I can see it from both sides. And again, this has been talked about for a long time before even the addition of 2 more programs. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see. The thing about it is, I mean, talking with these coaches, when they get to that point, if they're a good team, they want to save their pitching for the NCAA tournament, not the SEC tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing that goes with the ACC tournament, pool play, which I've had that event a few times. So I don't know if it's really the best solution. We'll give it a shot. I'm trying not to be too cynical about it until I see it take hold. But I know one thing: that's a lot of traffic out there, and a lot of teams that will be either playing just to rest their pitching staff, some teams playing out the string, some teams playing on the bubble. Those will be the most significant games, and the rest will be the rest. So it all depends on which matchup you're looking at.
Well, Oklahoma and Texas coming in going to add a lot more great baseball to an already great baseball league, and they'll continue to play 30 league games with 10 3-game series for everybody. Should be a heck of a lot of fun. Where are you taking your sore throat and your hoarseness this weekend?
I'm heading out to the Music City tomorrow, and for the game Saturday at Vanderbilt. First time I've had Vanderbilt all year.
Yeah. Well, there's a street there. There's a street there called Broadway, and there's some really good places there to get fluids that'll help you feel better.
Yeah, no, I've heard about that. Yeah. I've heard. Trust me, those same fluids I can find in my house. So I don't need to go 3.5 hours to get those fluids. But
they are.
No, it'll be interesting.
Are they served to you by blondes in pink cowboy boots?
Well, that would only be my wife, of course. Yes. That would be. She is blonde, and she does own a pair of cowboy boots.
Oh,
so that's a possibility. You know, we like to mix it up every now and then, Phil. But no, there's no telling.
You're a man's man, Mike Morgan. You're a man's man.
The people want to know now, Mike, is it Tennessee whiskey or Kentucky bourbon? What's your poison?
Well, it's Kentucky bourbon for me. It's Woodford, it's Blanton's, it's Buffalo Trace, Little Angel's Envy. Yeah.
Hard to beat the Bourbon Trail.
Kentucky bourbon guy.
Bourbon Trail. I stopped at the distillery there where they make Woodford. That's quite the vacation spot on the way.
I've been there. It's
between
awesome.
Lexington and Louisville. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Woodford and Buffalo Trace are I've done Maker's Mark as well. Those would be my 2 favorite though. Woodford, I'd recommend Woodford and Buffalo Trace to anybody.
Yeah.
Mike Morgan, brought to you by Woodford and Buffalo Trace.
Yes. Hey, let's make that happen.
Get him while he's sober. That's our goal. Get him while he's sober. Mike,
exactly.
Hope you feel better. Thanks for the visits, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, guys. Take care.
Take care of yourself. Mike. In the Music City. Hard to take care of yourself in the Music City because things can get out of hand there. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate it. Come back with some recruiting and comments from the new coach of the Panthers, Dave Canales. That's coming up after the break.
Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Some clouds do roll in, but no rain. We'll have a low of 37. Now, tomorrow, a blend of sun and clouds. Our warmest day of the week, 68 is the high. For the weekend, Saturday's gorgeous. Sunny skies, the high is 57. We stay 57 as a high on Sunday, but we do get cloudy as the day moves along and have a 20% chance of some showers. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
Thinking about investing in a hot tub? Great idea. Hot tubs offer relaxing hydrotherapy for tired muscles and stressed minds. But beware, all spas are not the same. At Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, we offer hot spring and free flow spas exclusively for their quality, energy efficiency, and affordability. And we have everything to keep your spa and pool sparkling, clean, and crystal clear. Come see it all at Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, Forest Drive, and JackOliverPools.com.
With SRN News, Keith Peters reporting Senate leaders are attempting to push forward a deal to pair new policies at the southern border with wartime aid for Ukraine and other American allies, but they'll have to overcome heavy skepticism from Republicans. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says that he will next week put in motion a test vote on the national security package. However, with some Republicans resisting the timeline and many remaining uncommitted for supporting the border policy changes, the bill's future remains uncertain. Former President Trump's political operation has amassed about $130 million in the final months of last year. But after spending heavily, he's heading into 2024 with more than $42 million. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 369 points. The NASDAQ rose 197. More details at srnnews.com.
I've learned a lot in my years doing this, but I've never had my eyes opened wider than when I met the folks from Broker Solar and went to see their job sites. Everything I thought about solar power, well, I was wrong about. Now I'm on board 100% as long as it's done right. Don't let the media, don't let the politicians guilt you about solar power. You want solar because it actually will save you money and give you some power literally and figuratively at the same time. It's amazing technology. What a great way to get rid of your monthly power bill. No more power outages. Instead of having to buy a generator, you just rely on solar batteries from Broker Solar. Listen, I'm sick of having politicians tell me about green this, green that, but solar technology has advanced so much. So if you want to learn more, why don't you call the folks over at Broker Solar? This isn't some national thing. They are local. They're located right in Lexington. In fact, I've known the owner's family for many, many years. They are great. Online, it's brokersolar.com or call them 807-7417. That's 807-7417 for Broker Solar.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
At Palmetto State Armory, we offer the largest selection of guns and ammunition at unbeatable prices. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff are here to provide personalized assistance, ensuring you find exactly what you need. If you enjoy outdoor activities like hunting, camping, or hiking, our clothing and outdoor gear collection has got you covered. We also feature an exceptional indoor range facility where you can experience the thrill of shooting in a safe and controlled environment. Visit us today at PalmettoStateArmory.com or your local retail store. Palmetto State Armory, American made for life.
Yo, dude, what's up? Dude, hear that? I'm like totally here at the Mellow Mushroom eating an awesome pizza in a hot tub. It's insane. Mellow has pizza and hot tubs.
That's right. Spring water dough pizza with the freshest ingredients. Over 100 beers from around the world. All now available in our hot tub booths at the Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
There are no hot tubs at any Mellow Mushroom, but the pizza is just as awesome in a regular booth.
Hey, honey, I know you're taking some meds for cholesterol. I was reading that if you're on these medicines, you should also be taking some CoQ10.
Actually, our pharmacist mentioned that to me already. He called me the other day, and we went through each of our medications together.
Really? He called you?
Yeah, he asked if I was having any side effects, recommended supplements that could help me, and let me know the risk of mixing certain drugs.
Wow. I'm happy to know that True Pharmacy is thinking about us.
True Pharmacy, 1628 Charleston Highway, 3217 Divine Street, or visit truerxsc.com.
All right, first round of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and my gosh, are there any more beautiful television shots? And I know Augusta, but are there any more beautiful television shots than Pebble Beach? They had a camera angle today, and I was watching from afar at a restaurant watching on television, but the camera shot was back across the tee with the Pacific Ocean right behind the tee box, with the waves were huge. Remember, there's a storm coming, and it looked like the waves are just going to crash on top of the tee box. That's kind of it's unbelievable angle. Anyway, Thomas, I think it's Dietrich, or is it Detry? Thomas Dietrich, who's out of Dubai, went to University of Illinois, 9 under, 63 for him. Of course, they play different courses now. Patrick Canlay, he had a 64. Matthew Pavon had a 66. Emiliano Grillo had a 66. Siwoo Kim had a 66. Ricky Fowler, Colin Morikawa, they had 67s today. Let's see who we have in here locally. Locally, we've got, and some others, I'll tell you. Justin Thomas, a 68, 4 under. Scotty Scheffler, a 69, 3 under. Roy McIlroy, a 71, -1. Jordan Spieth, even 72. Lucas Glover is the only player from the state we have in the event, and he shoots a 73, +1. Beautiful, beautiful golf course, that's for sure. Okay, now today the Panthers, Dave Tepper, introduced his new leadership team. It's a new head coach and a new general manager, and he's stepping out of the way, he said. He was asked for an interview, or he was asked if he was going to talk after the press conference with the media. He said, no, I'm sliding to the background now. It's time for me to kind of get out of the way and let these guys run things. We'll see how long that lasts, but there seems to be excitement with Dan Morgan and Dave Canales. Morgan, the former player, been working in the front office for a while in the NFL, going to get a chance to build this team, and Canales is going to get a chance to run the team. Here is some of what the new head coach, Dave Canales, said to the media today and to the fans and family members in attendance in Charlotte as he was officially introduced.
What a moment of gratitude. What a moment of just thankfulness. I can, in the room this big, and of course for everyone who's watching, I think we can all kind of think about the people who believed in us first, who gave us our first opportunity to show who we are, to express ourselves. And so first I want to thank David and Nicole for giving me this opportunity. This is a dream of a lifetime that Lizzie and I have had, that goes back 20 years, and really, the last 10 years really honing this opportunity to get in front of an ownership and to sell a vision of who we can become. It's in my DNA. It's a part of who I am, and for allowing me to be me and recognizing that. So I want to thank you, Christy, as well, just throughout the process. It was, I learned so much just in those couple of days, just how to interact and how to try to just keep the focus on the things that are important, and feeling what your vision is for this team, and feeling that alignment that's happening with Dan and I to fit right into that. I'm just really appreciative there. I got to thank the Bucks organization for believing in me, giving me a shot. I was in Seattle for 13 years, but I get my first offensive coordinator opportunity way on the other side of the country. And so my family, Lizzie and the kids moved out last April. I didn't quite make it to my 1-year anniversary there, which would have been February 18th. So this part has happened really fast, but this is something that I've been working on. I really want to thank the Glazer family, and Joel and Darcy, Jason Light, Todd Bowles, for giving me that chance, for just letting me let it rip, giving me the confidence to be able to do that. I'm really appreciative there, which takes me back to my time in Seattle. And to formulate an identity, to formulate a football DNA that wins 10 out of 13 years to the playoffs. I just coached in my 20th and 21st playoff games. these past couple of weeks. And so I'm just really appreciative of Pete Carroll, who pushed me to think about the next thing. Just quit looking just at the quarterback. Quit just staring at the wide receiver's route. Open your eyes. What's happening with these combos? You see what the defense is doing? Did you notice we're playing a lot more of this coverage this camp? Open your eyes. Think bigger. Be prepared. I can't thank Pete enough. I'm going to miss a bunch of other names, but at that point right there, I just want to also just thank the players, the guys who really just did a fantastic job in it. And most recently, you know, Russell Wilson, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, these guys that I got to just spend so much life with, to learn, to watch them grow as men, to watch them grow as football players. It's their fault that I'm here. And that's the bottom line is it's about the players. My family, just growing up in a family who's just a family of dreamers and self-starters in Carson, California, the Canales family, and then my extended family, the Hendersons, my wife's family, who we moved to in Seattle. We're with them for 13 years. How they walked the hard days, the frustrating days in the profession, the frustrating and hard days in our marriage and our family, walking alongside of us, and just their undying support, prayers, all of my family members and friends that have been supportive over the years. My kids, Ashby, Ben, B, Mai, Amaya, who lend their dad to this profession for 6 months at a time. But we fight for each other. We fight for windows. We fight to connect, to listen to each other and to grow together. And finally, my wife, Lizzie. It's really her fault. 20 years ago, I'm the head JV coach at Carson High School. Fired up. I'm so excited. We go to play Venice High School. It's my first game coaching. She's sitting up in the stands with about 35 crazy parents. And we got smoked 34-13 that day. It was the greatest day of my life because I had found it. I found my passion. And after 2 years of doing that, she comes to me and she knew all I wanted to do was be the head coach at Carson High School. That's what I wanted to do. Take it, get us back on top, try to win championships and do all that. And she said, hey, don't get me wrong. I love your dream. You're really good at this. I think you can go as far as you want, and I got your back. And I'll make it happen, whatever we need to do. And she did. And she worked 3 jobs at times. And she told me the hard truths. And when I had problems with players or coaches, said, you know what you need to do? You need to sit down and have those conversations. And she's just been everything to me. This is our journey. This is our dream. And we've been so excited and prepared for this opportunity. So thank you, and I love you, babe. So that's just kind of the journey. How I got here, started off with the dream in high school, and that turned into junior college. And at El Camino College, I learned the spread pass game from a man named John Featherstone, rest in peace. And that's where I met Pete Carroll. And Pete gave me an opportunity to come along with him. I spent 14 formative, amazing years. I don't know if you've heard the saying, see a little, see a lot. Well, if you can sit at that same porch, you'll watch the world go by. Watch the NFL world come through, the trends, the changes, the players, the generations of players, how to communicate, all happen in one place, in one city. For me, just was a recipe for forming a really solid identity and a belief in a way to win. And I was able to, fortunately, take that to Tampa last year and to show what can happen. Not what can't we do, but what can we do? Who are our guys? And how do we build an offense around these people? And I'm excited to be able to do that here with the whole team, to find our strengths, make them second nature, to find our weaknesses and work them into strengths. And I'm so excited to do it with Dan, with Brant, with Mr. and Mrs. Tepper, and all of us in the building, really, that every time those players walk into this building, they're going to feel that intentionality. They're going to feel that this is about them. This is about building a place for them to thrive.
All right, there you go. Comments, Dave Canellis. He went on to take a bunch of questions, and he's really looking forward to working with the quarterbacks with the Panthers to see if he can develop some things there and improve the situation there at the quarterback position. You got something else?
I just couldn't help but chuckle as you were leading into that interview there. You mentioned how Panthers owner David Tepper said essentially he was going to kind of go into the background and let these other guys take over a little bit, if I heard what you were saying right. Well, that comes just 6 days after the official press release from the Panthers announcing the hire of Dave Canales to be head coach that said, quote, as with GM Dan Morgan, Canales will report directly to owner David Tepper, with the expectation being that they would report to the owner weekly. That doesn't exactly sound like going into the shadows or backing away to me, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah. Maybe today he did not want today to be about him.
There you go.
He wanted today to be about his new GM and his new head coach. But they got a lot of work ahead of them. Obviously, the Panthers have a lot of holes. Now, their defense is pretty good. So maybe that's a good starting point. They got to do a lot of work on the offensive side. And, of course, the big question mark will be the quarterback position and whether or not they think they can move forward with Bryce Young. Is he the answer? Canales thinks that he can work with him and develop him as he has done with other quarterbacks. So if he's got the talent, he's got the knowledge, you got to have some good people around him. We'll see what he's able to do. Of course, then again, Frank Reich was known as a quarterback's coach when they hired him, an older guy, a lot of experience, and they thought that, but they didn't really give him a chance.
Nope.
I mean, they fired him mid-season. What kind of chance did he get to develop a guy that was a rookie and who needs, of course, a lot of work and a lot of development? All right, let's go to the break, and we'll come back and give you the recruiting report tonight. Oh, before we do that, sorry, Pat just shared with me a big story coming out of Columbia, and that is the Chick-fil-A. This is by Scoop, Lou Bajak of the state newspaper. The Chick-fil-A Classic announced a major change this afternoon. The Midlands Chick-fil-A restaurants, they have decided to end the run as title sponsor of the event. Midlands Chick-fil-A restaurants have been the title sponsor for 22 years. And since the beginning of the tournament, proceeds have provided more than $230,000 in scholarships through the Greater Columbia Educational Advancement Foundation. The foundation said it will explore the possibility of a new sponsor in the future. The tournament's been held at River Bluff in Lexington the last 3 years. It was at Richland Northeast from its inception until the move to Lexington. And Ridgeview Dynamic Prep won the championships in this year's event. So sponsorship and name, Chick-fil-A Classic, done with this particular event, one of the biggest in the country. I mean, they attract great teams from all across the country. And I'm sure they will continue to do so, and I'm sure they'll find a great sponsor and keep it going. All right, we'll hit the break now on Sports Talk, and we'll update some basketball. Wilmington is leading the College of Charleston. Hello, Sam. Oh, it just tied up, 34-34. And James Madison is leading Coastal Carolina at halftime, 52-34. Yeah, we knew they were pretty good going in, and they are proving to be just that. Monmouth is leading Drexel. This would be big for Charleston, 33-23 at the half. Be right back.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hostetler-Brown. Do you know the difference between a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust? The difference could easily save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in long-term care costs. Visit lawyerlisa.com to schedule a consultation today.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Daddy, you need a trust.
Hi, yes. I'll have the club sandwich and house salad.
You got it, sweetie. I'll throw in a pair of designer sunglasses as well.
Just lunch, thanks.
How about a week at my boss's oceanfront villa?
What?
When you join the South Carolina Education Lottery's Players Club, you get way more than you expect. More chances, more wins, and more surprises.
Today's special, a trip to low Earth orbit in a private spaceship.
Join the Players Club at seeducationlottery.com because more happens here.
Last year was a big year for Founders Federal Credit Union and our amazing members. A total of $30 million was given back to qualifying members in the form of loyalty bonus dividends, proving once again that it pays to be a Founders member. Founders is also committed to pouring time and resources into the local communities we serve. If you aren't a member yet, what are you waiting for? Join Founders today. Visit foundersfcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required.
George Bryan here for Tsunami Bar Sports, and some say the fun is in the winning. I say the fun is in the training. And Tsunami Robbie, what do you say?
George, we all know you get more done when you're having fun. This technology is different. It's engaging, but it's also a lot of fun to use.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any Tsunami Bar order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait. Order today.
Attention high school sports fans. Are you an armchair official? You know, the parent or fan who constantly yells at the referees and loves to let everyone know just how bad you think they are. Well, if you think you could do better, then get in the game and prove it. It's time for you to suit up and make the calls where they actually count. Every sport in South Carolina needs more officials. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
All right, let's give you the recruiting report on this big Thursday night. It's brought to you by Seawells. I want to remind you, if you got a special event coming up, maybe it's a wedding reception, a birthday party, a corporate outing, an awards banquet, a business luncheon, make sure you call the catering experts at Seawells. They've been serving the state of South Carolina with excellent food and service for, 75 years. The Seawell family and staff can handle all your planning and catering needs at their facility on Rosewood Drive, or they'll come to your venue. Their website is SeawellsCateringSC.com, and their phone number is 803-771-7385. And tomorrow we cap another big week of the daily luncheon buffet, and we cap it in style.
That's right. Tomorrow will be another roast beef Friday. Shout out Andy, along with southern fried chicken and baked flounder filet. And then don't forget all your local farm fresh veggies, salad bar, and dessert.
All right, check it out tomorrow. And again, for catering, give the folks at Seawells a call. All right, South Carolina offensive line coach Lonnie Teasley paid a visit to Louisville this week to see center Isaac Souls, 6'2", 292. The two have known each other for about a year. Souls camped at USC last summer, and their relationship seems to be growing stronger over time. He really likes what he hears from Teasley. He likes that Teasley can recruit, getting Cam Pringle, Josiah Thompson, and others. And so he wants to play where football is big and where the stadiums are packed. He was at USC for the Kentucky game, which was under the lights last November. He was very impressed with the atmosphere, and that really turned him on to South Carolina, to be quite honest with you. He's been to West Virginia, Louisville, Miami, and NC State. That was in January. This weekend, he's going to Indiana and then to Kentucky. He said he has some favorites in mind right now, and the Gamecocks are among those he's thinking about as a strong contender. He wants to commit between June and August. He'll start to narrow things down around May. Other offers for the first team All-State center, who grew up a Notre Dame fan, Penn State, Virginia Tech, East Carolina, South Florida, Duke, and Virginia. South Carolina's handed out a bunch of new offers in the 25 class. Linebacker Cameron White, Riverview, Florida. Running back Tavion Swint, Kissimmee, Florida. He's been committed to UCF. Cornerback Mark Manfred of Marietta, Georgia. He's a Clemson target as well. In the 26 class from Gonzaga High in Washington, D.C., linebacker Kedrick Golston, defensive end Carter Meadows, and linebacker Tyson Harley. From Carrollton, Georgia, receiver Caden Prothro. From Anniston, Alabama, defensive end Hezekiah Harrison. In the 27 class, cornerback Akadron Cremel from Knightdale, North Carolina, and defensive back Zavon Miller from Richmond. USC 2026 commit quarterback Landon Duckworth was offered by Texas A&M and Arkansas. Better keep an eye on him for the Gamecocks. He's getting a lot of big-time attention now. J.L. Mann quarterback Ethan Anderson accepted a PWO offer from Clemson. Clemson offered linebacker Chase Taylor, 6'3", 210. He's out of Stockbridge, Georgia. And Sumter defensive end Anthony Addison was offered by West Virginia. That'll do it. Recruiting tonight on Sports Talk. Remember to check it out regularly on our website, SportsTalkSC.com on Twitter. Use the hashtag STRecruiting. I'll take you right to our stuff.
You mentioned a Prothrow from Alabama. Immediately think of Tyrone Prothrow, that spectacular wide receiver for Alabama who had the unfortunate season career-ending injury. Wonder if this is his son or sibling or cousin.
Good question.
Doesn't seem like that common of a last name.
Makes me think of one Tommy Prothrow.
Shame on me. Maybe it is a popular name.
You ever heard of Tommy Prothrow?
I don't think I have.
Look him up. If I'm not mistaken, he was like the coach of the Rams, like in the 60s and 70s. See if you can find a Tommy Prothrow.
Got him right here. He was a quarterback at Duke from 1938 to 1941. And then he was a head coach at a number of different places. Oregon State, then UCLA, then, the Los Angeles Rams, and then the San Diego Chargers.
What years in the NFL?
Overall, from 1965 through 1978. He was with the Rams from 71 to 72.
Yeah, I thought I remember that name.
Good memory.
Yep. Well, I wonder about that. But it's funny. Some things you can pull out of your brain in a moment's notice, right? There must be a name for this, to remember certain things that ordinarily you shouldn't remember, but then things that you should remember, you can't remember. Is there a name for that situation? I'm sure there is one out there. If it is, I got it, whatever that happens to be. Things I should remember, I can't, but things that really I have no business remembering, I can remember. Does that make any sense to you?
Sure.
I'm sure it's a condition that I've got. Anyway, we're coming up on the end of the show. I do remember 8 o'clock is as far as we can go. And looking forward to a Friday with you, getting ready for the weekend. South Carolina on the road to Athens to play Georgia. Dangerous, dangerous game for South Carolina in that, they're feeling good about themselves. We've talked about this before. Georgia, however, they should be humbled going into this game because Georgia's already beaten them. So you can't walk onto the court in Athens and expect to roll the ball out there and win because Georgia's already beaten you. They're a dangerous team. They just played a tough game the other night against, they played Tennessee. And who was it they played? Let's see. Last night it was Alabama. Yeah, Alabama, I think it was. They played them right to the wire. They played Tennessee to the wire at their place. So that's a difficult place to play, as every place is on the road in the SEC. Meantime, I think Clemson's got a huge one Saturday for them at home against Virginia. Obviously, Virginia, a quality team once again. And the way Clemson has been going up and down, they need to show some consistency. Even Coach Brownell said that the other night: win a game, lose a game, win a game, lose a game. They need to piece something together. And this is going to be a game, whatever the under is. I think I would take the under because Virginia is going to D you up like you don't know. And of course, Clemson's got to play better defense. I mentioned the other night, and I double checked myself. I mentioned the other night how Brad Brownell's best teams are the ones that have played the best defense. He's had teams that can score. Like this year's team is averaging about 80 points per game, but they're giving up about 73 points per game. So, and they've got a good record, not to take anything away from what they've done. But last year's team was a very good team. Didn't make the tournament, should have. They gave up 68 points per game. So they played a little bit better defense. The 22 team, which wasn't very good record-wise, gave up 68 points per game. I want to get to the point of the 2018 team that went to the Sweet 16, won 25 games. That team gave up 66 points per game. My point is, when Brownell's teams are playing Brownell's defense, they do really well. We'll see if they can play good defense on Saturday. Talk about that tomorrow night. Have the gang all together. Thanks for being with us. Thank you, Pat. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fire